All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lunch and Learn today. Um, I am Jeremy, one of the trainers at Decisions. It is day 2 of the long week where y'all are stuck with me. But I am here to help answer any questions, do my best to assist in any way. If anyone has any questions or things that they're curious about, things they want me to take a look at, feel free, and I will be happy to read the Q&A and answer whatever kind of questions we got. So type up any questions in the Q&A. I'll kind of go over some of the usual things while I give everyone time to join in and type up any questions they might have. So a couple things. We got our YouTube channel. If you're curious about any unique content, we post different videos up there when we have some interesting things to reveal or some cool topics and things that we want to discuss. We'll post those to our YouTube channel. So you can check those out. That's also where we post all of our lunch and learns. So if you're curious about any specific lunch and learn topics, any things that we've discussed, or if you want to just watch one back that you were part of, usually we post those on the YouTube channel as well. So if you're curious about that, you can check those out also. Um, we've got the Decision Solutions Marketplace. That's the next place if you're curious about any kind of, we've got a bunch of accelerators and other applications and things you can check out. So go there if you're curious about any of those kinds of things. Really cool things, maybe give some good inspiration or some just good working projects that you'd want to add and utilize in your systems. So anything like that. And then we've got our events. So our roadmap review is back. You can find that at decisions.com/events, as well as a list of our other events that we have available. So if you're curious about anything coming up, if you want to learn more about the Decisions roadmap in our various biweekly meetings, you can check that out as well. Decisions.com/events is where you register for that, as well as other webinars. So we do have one coming up near the end of this month. I believe it's July 24th. There's another one that will be coming up in August. And then our next roadmap review is, oh, that's apparently today, actually. So if you're curious, register for these. You can learn more about them. Otherwise, we can go ahead and jump into any questions. So if you got questions, please post them in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to do my best. All right, we do have a question to start. I'll read it out loud, and then Joe, you can talk if you want to add anything else after this. If you have a query that either outputs one row or no rows, how do you test to see if the output is 0 or 1, and then branch from that determination?
It's pretty much it. Yeah, any query that has an output, I know there's a count function when you define the query, and I did select that as checked.
Mhm.
But the query runs and the output is correct. It's either something is there or nothing is there. And then I want to just branch from if something is there, go left. If nothing is there, go right.
Um, how exactly is the data coming out? Is it because there's a few different ways. Like it depends on exactly how the data is coming through. There's a lot of just basic rules that we have. If it's coming out as like, of course it's not going to load for me right away. But there's like you could just use like is null, or you could use if it's like coming out as nothing, and that's just a simple rule. And so if there is no row, it might come out as null depending on how that data is coming through. So then it could
Hmm.
go down one path for if it's null, or the other path if it actually is a row of data. There are also just various like number equals if that's actually um, coming through, or if you have,
Well,
depending on exactly how that data is coming through, you
how
can
does the
check
how
those.
does the count function work? In other words, there's a count option on the query itself, and I checked that. One would think that I should be able to get the count of items out of that query. Either it's 0 or it's 1.
That I'm not 100% sure about.
So if you go to any query,
Well, I can just do it. You're talking about this.
yes. output count. So when this
Got
query runs, it's going to say 1, 2, 3, 10, 20. One
right.
would think. And all I want to know is, if it's 0, go left. If it's 1, go right. It's never going to put 2, 3, or 4, but it could, right? You could say if the number of rows are 3, then do something. I'm just trying to access the count function in the query.
Okay. Let me just create this real quick then, and we'll can test this out. All right, so we're gonna output count how that does anything. Run that query.
Right.
Okay, let's see this. So if it runs the query,
It's got how many rows? 1, 2, whatever,
we got
4 or
5
5
rows in it.
rows.
Yeah.
All right. So if count equals 0, do one thing. If count equals 5, do another.
It doesn't look like it explicitly outputs count. Um,
Right. That's what I was trying to figure out why.
in your query, does it output like how does it outputting the data? Is it outputting like a list of everything? Because you could just use the decisions internal count kind of function.
Um,
It depends on the query though. I don't know if it's always outputting as a
it's
list.
just it's an execute query that just a simple select statement. Um, and I did what you did. I ticked the count box, and I
Right.
thought that I would be able to pull that value of the count from the output of this.
Because so anything that comes out as a list of something is always going to have a count. And so if your data is outputting, like my data, the way my select query is outputting a list of stuff. And so you should always be able to grab the count of these
Right.
items of how many
From
things are
there.
coming through that it grabbed. So it depends like if that might be just all you need to grab exactly what you're looking for. I'm not 100% sure how that count option in the query is different. But like if I did it like this, like I know there's 5 items in here and I have this
Right.
grab from those. It's a little bit, well, that's really ugly.
See which way it goes.
Right. It should go down true because the count of the items that this is
Right.
selecting is 5.
I
And so you
agree.
could easily match that between 1 and 0 as long as you have that for your use case at least. But there we go. It
Let's
goes
see
down
if
the
it
true path
works.
um, and outputs that data. So I can see it went true and found 5 = 5.
Okay.
So just
So
the internal, I don't know exactly, I guess, what that specific checkbox does. I can double check and see if our
I think if you
anything
take
we
it
have saved.
off, I bet you if you take it off, the count value is not there. I mean,
Uh, I wouldn't think that I maybe, but I wouldn't think that would be the case because the count is just always, it's normally anything
always
that's
there.
outputting a list. That's
Yeah.
just a default thing that Decisions has. It'll always output anything that's outputting a list will always output all of the
Account
items and then
plus the
count first
count.
and last. So
Okay.
you should see that no matter what. I
Let me give
don't
that a
know for
shot.
sure. Yeah, and I don't
And
know for
then
sure what would be different about that specific checkbox.
okay. Let me um let me check that out. Equals is the equals number, right? That's what you
Yeah,
use
equals
as
number
the
is your basic just check if a number equals a certain thing.
yep. Okay. I'm gonna try it as you speak, and you guys can continue doing somebody else if there is somebody else.
At the moment, we have no questions, but I'll give it a minute because I know there's still a couple people Here, actually, nope, never mind. We do have a question. So I will jump to that one next. Oh, this is interesting. I actually found the document before I jump to that next question. I actually found our doc that describes all the settings for query integrations, and we do not have anything for output count. So I wonder if it's either not functioning properly or something. There's something weird going on there. We'll have to look at that internally and figure out what's up there. But what I had described should be fine.
Okay.
Right. All right. We do have another question about CSS. Dongmei has a question about CSS. I selected a CSS class on a form design for a field. The style is picked in the form preview, but it is not picked on the flow debug or page view.
Yes, that's the problem. I don't know why. Yeah, basically I have a page, then I have a form actually. On form for one field, I go to view, then CSS class. I can choose a predefined CSS class there.
Hmm.
Then on the form designer, I just click preview, looks is good. But when I run flow, open the form, it's still not pick up the style. Yeah, something like that. Then the view, yeah,
Right. So you have like your CSS
yeah,
class selected here. Right.
yeah, yes.
Got it. Okay. Now, let's see here. I currently don't have any specific CSS. I don't know if I could specific like perfectly show this, but I want to look at this. I think, do you have this selected on the form? If you look at the checkered space where like you can find active form flows and things, it's under appearance. There's an allow runtime CSS option here.
Okay, so maybe you say maybe check that one.
I
Well,
think if I'm thinking properly, I have not used a lot of CSS. I know my manager's a lot more versed on how CSS works, but I believe if you want it to actually like be used at runtime, then you need to check this so that it can actually be like used at runtime, like when the flow runs or when the form runs in a flow. Um,
okay.
and if it's not, that might be why it appears in like a preview and the designer because you've added it, but it's not actually appearing at runtime. I think that might be the case. I can try to double check, but um,
Okay, I can try that at least. Hmm.
if I look-
Seems when I choose allow runtime CSS file, then then I cannot even choose my own CSS style sheet.
Yeah, give me
It
one
not
minute.
allow me to choose that.
Yeah, let me double check this. I'm gonna double check and see if I can find if there's something that we're missing here. I'll get this answer for you here shortly. I'm just double checking to see if there's anything different on page views as well. I know you can pick the class here. I don't see a separate option for runtime on page views, at least. Maybe that's a little different. Um, Let me go back to my form. One I was looking at earlier. Yeah, I guess that's specifically in the system ones. Let's
Maybe you can just create a CSS file with a very simple.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick that in a second here.
Template,
Sorry, what did you say?
template, configuration template is there CSS. Maybe you can add a
Yes.
CSS file here.
see here. Sorry, my computer's running a little slow at the moment. Difficulty here.
Send you a very short style sheet, maybe just create a CSS file with just that past border, then just add it here.
Yep, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I put that in the Q&A.
Okay.
There's a appearance. You have to choose that file.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Shit,
Then you choose a field, then class. Yeah, but yours seems HTML file, not the CSS file or file.
grab the one.
Yeah, I see your file looks like it's HTML, not the CSS. Template. Yeah, see the file. This is the HTML.
Yes.
Can you just put the one I sent you to in the Q&A? That's very simple. CSS class file. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, now I can see that's red.
Right.
Then
And then you said when you
on the
debug it,
floor,
nothing happens.
or on the page, it's not pick up for me. Hey, yours is good. Why it's
Yeah,
not work for me?
that's interesting. That's what I was trying to find at first, if there was like an additional setting. That's why it took me a second at first, but I couldn't find anything because I don't think there normally is. Um,
Hey, that's work for you. So maybe somewhere wrong on my side.
yeah, and I imagine if I added this in like one of my pages, like I actually do think I have a form tile or something. I can even change this. Reach to it and see if it works on pages as well. But I don't see why it wouldn't. Oh, except it's that thing. Whoops. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be working.
Yeah,
If you're
things
still
works
having
on your side.
if you're
Yeah,
still
maybe
having issues with it appearing, like
maybe I
regardless,
have some other CSS control
there might
override.
yeah, there might be something else overriding it. I mean, I
Yeah.
know you can obviously like inspect the page to see if there's something getting in the way of that. And
Mhm.
obviously, I don't have anything on here because I have not had much of a reason other than today to mess with CSS is obvious by my inexperience. Um, so I'm sure there's probably something getting in the way
Yeah.
that's overriding it. So you might want to like inspect and find what that is,
Okay.
and see if you have some other CSS or something that's
Yeah.
getting in the way of that, because you could probably look through those. And if you're still having trouble finding it, I know the support team will very easily be able to help you with that. If
Okay.
it's just something
I'll
simple like
look
this,
into
I'm sure
that.
they'd lead you the right way.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Apologies for the slow start there. That was
No problem.
one of
Thank
my
you for help.
goals. One of my personal goals is to to learn CSS. I just haven't quite had the time to focus on that. So,
Thank you.
yep, of course. All right, so far that's all the questions I've got queued up, but I'm happy to discuss if anyone else has any additional questions to bring up. Uh, Last chance before we end a little early today. Oh, yeah, Joe, go ahead, go right ahead. Ask away.
Okay, is there a way to share my screen?
Not for lunch and learns. We just because we have a lot of, I know there's a lot of like customer facing things, and we post these all to YouTube. We do
Yep,
not do shares.
got you. I'm getting two the query that runs.
Hmm.
If I run the input and output, I pass it in two parameters and I'm getting out one record. A couple of fields,
Hmm.
a bunch of fields from the table, but it's only one record.
Okay.
And then when I choose that step that we looked about the is the number,
Hmm.
I am looking at the in and out of that, and I'm having inputs. It says value 1, 1, value 2, 0. Why does it have two inputs? In other words, when you
The
debug it and seeing value 1, 1, and
Yeah,
value 2, 0, I'm not sure why there would be two inputs.
it's the two inputs that the rule is trying to assess. So the one input is going to be the one that you're grabbing from your like query result, right? So my query, I'm getting the count of all my case entities for this particular select query. So that's
Right.
the one thing. The other one is what is the value
Oh,
that I want to
I
compare
have
it
them
against?
backwards. I have them backwards.
Yeah.
I think that's what the problem is. Yes. I have my value 1 as the output of the query, and it should be value, I mean, 2, right? It should be here. Okay, I think that'll do it. Let's see, flow data. Let's see, the output of this is called section selected. So that means this guy here would be section selected count. And this would be constant 0. So the constant 0 goes on top. Yes.
Maybe, but I don't know
Yeah,
if that
constant
really
5.
matters, to be honest.
Well, we'll find
I
out in a
don't
minute.
think that, yeah, we'll find out. I don't think the order actually matters unless it's like a divide or something where it changes.
Let's see. The output of the query, input, output, I'm feeding it two values. I'm getting my result in my query that there's only one record.
Mhm.
And then I'm saying, is there a previous record? And the answer is yes. And it's taking the false route where it should be taking the true route.
So did you grab, what are you grabbing, I guess? Is it one of the
So
things is the
the
count of the
output of this, yeah, your execute select case example,
Mhm.
if it has an output name, right?
Right.
And just click on it so we can see what
Yeah, so I got this.
yeah. What's the name of the output is my question, not here. Like if you go and you click the actual step and go to the output section,
Got it.
it's called select case example result.
Hmm.
Exactly. And then the green equals number 1 should have that select case examples result count
And then the count. Yep.
in value 2, and then your constant is 5. In my case, it's 0. I
Hmm.
have exactly what you have. And then when I look at the output, input output of the is there a previous record, which is your equals number 1. Yeah, see, I'm
The two
getting
values is
5
showing.
and 5. I'm getting null and 1. Value 1 is null. Value 2 is 1
So, and value two is the record, right? So it's saying it found a record,
in value 2.
right? So
So
that's
that
saying
would
it found
make
a record. And then what you have in here, your equals for your first con is a constant of 0. So since it found a record and it has so that's the count of 1, and then the constant is 0, it should be running down the false path because there is a record, but your equal step is checking if there's not a record.
I see. So just make this 1.
Yeah, if you make that 1, then it should gather it, and then anything else, if it's 0 or 2 or whatever, it should run down the false path.
Right. Okay. I think that would probably do it. Just check one more time.
Mhm.
Submit. Looks better. And then we go here. Update. Yep. It went the right way.
Okay.
Right. So if it's 0, that makes sense. If it's 0, then it goes to the insert. If it's more than 1, then there already has a record and it goes to the update. Perfect.
Mhm.
It works. All right. Lunch and Learn does it again.
All right, awesome.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, anybody else? Last chance. Any other questions before the end of the day today? All right. Well, I see people leaving and everything, so we will go ahead and end it. Thank you all for joining today. Apologies for my fumbling a little earlier. Trying to learn on my end as well. So I guess it's a lunch and learn for me too. Thank you all for joining. I will go ahead and end off our meeting for today. We'll continue the rest of this week with myself, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Have a good one, everybody.